Philip Tomasino is here, and so is, this is going to sound like I'm denigrating it, and I'm not, the big tryout. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Penguins versus Canucks here in Pittsburgh. And the reason that I emphasize that is because it's Thanksgiving Eve. This is a great local hockey tradition, arguably the best of the local hockey traditions. The game is always sold out. The place is always lively, like really crazy playoff level lively. Why? Because other people's families, kind of like my family and my kids today, are coming home. And they only get, one or two chances over the course of a season to see the team that they love. So they make the most of it. So we'll see who makes the most of what tonight. Let's see if the Penguins just look like what they've looked like pretty much every other night this year, or if they'll take some sort of inspiration from that. I think that unto itself is going to be interesting, even beyond the hockey component. But yeah, I'm going to be like everybody else in that I want to see what Tomasino's got. And I'm not being an idiot here. I've seen his statistics. At 1 point in 10 games in Nashville, he's a healthy scratch a dozen times. This isn't someone who should be exciting anybody any more than if somebody else were to go ahead and claim Valtteri Puustinen off waivers today. But I want to see what he can do, and I want to see how this tryout thing works. And I'm sure if I used that terminology in talking to Kyle Dubas, he'd be like, whoa, wait a second, dude, what are you talking about, tryout? I mean, they can't call it that, but that's actually what it is. That's actually, in a way, what this whole season has been from the start of training camp and will continue to be through the last regular season game. It's a matter of bringing in various young players as you can through whatever means of acquisition and trying to see who sticks, who might blossom, who might have sputtered in somebody else's system but might flourish here. Tomasino was a first-round pick. Tomasino's got speed. Tomasino's got skill. Tomasino didn't mesh in the slightest with Barry Trotz, who's interested in a lot of other traits than the two that I just mentioned. So maybe it happens here, maybe it doesn't. Maybe Dubas goes on to acquire David Jiricek, the defenseman in Columbus, who was a 6th overall pick. Been a disappointment for the Blue Jackets. There's a handful of teams that are in on Jiricek. He's only 20 years old, so it's not like you can bury him. But if you're the Blue Jackets, you can also understand where it's like, man, we've been waiting on him forever and it doesn't seem to be happening. The level of frustration is going to be a lot higher in that scenario than it would be if Jiricek were to come to a new place. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. If he were to come here, he would displace somebody else. And, safe to say, somebody who absolutely would not have earned their position. And I don't believe that Puustinen did either. And you guys will know, who've been listening to this show for a while, I'm a Puustinen guy. I like this kid. I feel like I've gotten to know him as well as you can get to know a young player. Heck, we got along that I felt like I could joke with him about anything, up to and including he'd be in a slump or whatever. I just shoot the hockey puck. I said this to him in Columbus a week ago before a game. You're not going to shoot again tonight, right? Just make sure whatever it is that you do, you don't shoot the hockey puck. And he'd smile and take it the right way and whatever. And then he wouldn't shoot the hockey puck. And when you're around that every day, this coaching staff and Dubas's evaluators, and they see that, and it's easier to think you're just not going to be able to fix that. So he was put on waivers to make room for Tomasino. He's not out of the system yet. Maybe he'll hang around. We're going to find that out today at 2:00. But one way or another, the Penguins brass, made a conscious decision yesterday that we don't mind the risk of losing him, which is about as damning a proclamation as you can make, considering that Puustinen's being paid minimum wage. Now, could Puustinen, as I was saying earlier, of the other guys, could he go somewhere else and blossom and find it in himself to stop deferring to everybody around him and shoot the hockey puck? Sure he could. Sure he could. Is it likely? Probably not. He's in his mid-20s. His personality, both as a person and as a player, are both pretty well formed. But again, it's possible. And that's the environment that Dubas clearly is attempting to create in Pittsburgh. You can have a chance here. You can have an opportunity, but you got to actually do something with it. And if you do, if you were to arrive in Pittsburgh and you were to make something of yourself, and nobody's stopping you from doing that, and we really have to get over this mythology that somehow the system holds players back. Systems don't hide skill. You can put a really skilled player in the most boring system that ever existed. And by the way, the Penguins don't play one of those. I think they should at this point. But that player's going to show you what he can do. But if that player is out there and doing what Sam Poulin just did for a couple of weeks, I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? Are you supposed to pretend you don't see it? No, you keep moving. You keep giving other people chances. So now you see why I was referring to it as a tryout, but not necessarily in some negative way. That's what this is. That's what this whole season is. There's no way anybody associated with the Penguins envisioned some sort of instant contention. I don't know that that was going to be a thing, even if they had gotten the very best out of, their top three defensemen right away. If we hadn't seen Chris Letang, Marcus Pettersson, and really especially Erik Karlsson just fall off the way they did in the first 2-3 weeks. Wow. From there, it was clear right away what this was going to be. So that's what tonight's going to be. It's another edition with another new face. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Drew. One of the better questions that's been sent this way in a good while. Drew asks, DK, was I imagining that late last year, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust, and Drew O'Connor were doing well? Am I insane? I don't know. I don't know about your level of sanity, my friend, but I can certainly confirm that you weren't imagining that. They were good. They were good. And that's why on this program, anyway, I talked all summer long about how DOC would be your first-line left winger, how it'd be nuts to not have him there. And it wasn't until everybody got to camp and saw Anthony Beauvillier there, and then I remember thinking, he's one of these tryout types, a little bit older, obviously, in his later 20s, but still, he was coming in to try to make a name for himself, hasn't done well for a while, and they want to see what he can do, and they don't want to just throw him on a junk line. So I thought that was going to fade. It didn't. I thought at least through the preseason, okay, now let's get serious here and put DOC up there. And they didn't do that. They kept Beauvillier there. I talk a lot on this show about the anointing that they did of Matt Grzelcyk by pairing him with Chris Letang immediately. First drills of camp, first scrimmage, and never moved him. Still haven't moved him. He's the worst defenseman in the NHL, and they haven't moved him. And they did the same thing with Beauvillier. I happen to believe that the reason for that, and maybe I'm excessively cynical on this count because I've seen Mike Sullivan do it to a couple of players, once he pegs you as a banger or a grinder, you are stuck. I swear he could have had a rookie Kevin Stevens and he'd have pegged Artie as a banger and a grinder, and you'd never have seen 60 goals out of number 25. I don't know why he does that, especially after being the head coach for the entire career of Brian Rust, who should prove to you that no one is stuck in a singular role. DOC showed a lot offensively in that time. He's shown offense at other times, but now, you stick him on third and fourth lines. He goes out there and he's doing his forechecking thing. He's doing the dirty work for others, and, he's not getting goals or assists. And, are you scratching your head as to why? So if it sounds like I'm in sync with whatever prompted you to ask that question, I am. But I'm going to throw in one more element to this. The current alignment, meaning the way that the Penguins practiced yesterday, has Beauvillier, Sid, and Rust. But on the second line, it has Gino between Ricard Raquel, and on the right side now, Philip Tomasini. Why is Raquel moved up to the first line if it means he's got to play on his wrong wing? There's a little bit of an inside hockey answer for that. And if you're going to the game tonight and you have the clearest view, and you might be able to pick this up on television as well, pay particular attention to this. When the Penguins come up through the neutral zone and Raquel has the puck on the left side, he has been doing for a couple of weeks now this thing where he swings his body to the inside and shoots an outlet through the neutral zone, a diagonal outlet across to either Rust or to Sid. It really works. Raquel told me about this, and he said it was something that he noticed himself that the Stars were doing that night. You remember the ridiculous Dallas game here. And he thought, man, that's something that I could definitely do and that we could use. Well, it's worked so well as a method for navigating the neutral zone that the coaches are completely comfortable with having him on that side. In fact, they might even see it as an advantage. So, as always, it's never just one thing. But if you're cutting all this down to the bone here and you have an opportunity to have a younger player who's big, strong, fast, built with all kinds of natural dynamism and has a decent scoring touch and playmaking touch, and you're not trying to maximize that asset because of a certain way that you labeled him a couple years ago, that's failing the tryout, I guess one might say. Hey guys, listen, we're not going to have another one of these shows again till Monday. I'm covering the game tonight, but after that, it's a holiday tomorrow. My kids are coming home. I'm going to spend some time with them before I have to travel out to Cincinnati to cover football this weekend. I'm thankful for having you here, and I hope you have a great, great Thanksgiving. Let's do it again Monday.